Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Thursday edition of Video Clips, which is brought to you by Wellness Forum Health, the Wellness Forum Institute, and Make Americans Free Again. First thing, if you are watching this video this morning, Patty Finn is our chief lawyer, is going to be in Columbus tonight to do a talk in front of our MAFA group. And if you're in driving distance of Columbus, we welcome you to join us at about 6 o'clock. We'll have a conversation with Patty, literally, the group, and then a little party afterwards. We'd love to have you. So just, you don't have to call in reserve, just show up. We'd love to have you join us. The second thing is we all like free stuff, and one of our big free programs is coming up, Make Americans Healthy Again, Wellness Forum style, 9 hours of health education that will cover topics like the controversies about dietary fat and cholesterol. Did humans ever eat a paleo diet? DMSO, is it a miracle supplement or snake oil? Thyroid health, and a discussion about nutrition policy in the United States and why it matters to you, how it affects your life, and lots more too. So it's June 10, 11, and 12 from 8 to 11 via Zoom. So you can be any place in the world and join us for this. We'll record it. So if you can't be with us live, you can watch it later. It's fun live because you can ask a lot of questions, but you can watch it later as well. And don't forget our membership drive. Buy a membership to Wellness Forum, and we will give you a gift certificate of equal amount that you can apply to things like our upcoming autoimmune disease boot camp or our research boot camp, which I just added. So if you don't know how to sort out what's right and wrong in healthcare, let us teach you how to do your own research. So you might even, depending on your membership, be able to get some of these things for free. So if you're interested in that, send me an email at pampopper@wellnessforum.com. All right, so I want to start with just some not so great news, put some perspective on it, and tell you what my thoughts are about it. The Supreme Court declined to take the Paul Thomas case. You might remember Thomas is a doctor in Oregon who lost his medical license for several reasons, and the biggest one was that he published an article in a journal reporting the results of a longitudinal study in his own practice that compared the health status of fully vaccinated, partially vaccinated, and unvaccinated children. The unvaccinated kids were clearly healthier than the vaccinated kids, and as you might imagine, this upset the medical cabal quite a bit. Well, the decision is disappointing for sure, but I'm going to provide some perspective because it's very important to take everything in context, right? First, the court receives 8,000 applications per year and takes less than 1%. So the odds are seriously stacked against you when you file for your case to be chosen. The second is this was an uphill battle since we were not involved at the beginning and definitely would have done things differently had we been. So we were stepping in after a lot of not so great things had happened. I'm not sorry we did that, but it definitely affects the outcome. Third, the Supreme Court declined to hear the case instead of hearing it and ruling against us, which means that the issues that we're litigating, we can file another case in a different jurisdiction and still present it to the Supreme Court at some point in time in a different case. So we have not lost our option to pursue the claims that we made. Last but not least, we knew when we started the COVID litigation that we were going to win some things and lose some things. Nobody wins all the time, darn it, right? And we agreed that we would learn from our losses so that we could file cases based on the same issues again in different jurisdictions and get better and better at what we do. Now, the first thing is this strategy has been historically used by many before us, like the early tobacco litigators who lost many cases when they began the tobacco litigation, but eventually, due to persistence, won huge damage awards. And the information that came out at the trials led to societal changes, such as no smoking in public places, on airplanes, tobacco companies can't advertise on television, warning labels on products, and so on. So this isn't over unless we give up, right? If we're willing to show up every day and work on these important issues, and as long as we can come up with the money to do it, we're not finished yet. I think we're just getting started, actually. And to that point, it would be great if now that the COVID debacle is kind of behind us, at least for now, that I could say, well, doctors are no longer in danger of arbitrary discipline from medical boards, but this is not true. The infrastructure is still in place for more Paul Thomas type episodes to take place, and they're probably taking place while I'm filming this video someplace in the United States. So let me explain what I'm talking about here. the Federation of State Medical Boards, a nonprofit in Texas that has no statutory authority, still delivers marching orders to state medical boards. It was the FSMB that told medical boards to go after the docs who were prescribing alternative drugs for COVID or speaking out about the vaccines. That's where the marching orders came from. Now, you've heard me say this before. I'll say it again. COVID's not new, just a bigger episode of what's been going on for decades. And so it is with the FSMB. For example, the Federation played a major role in the disastrous opiate debacle. Led by Purdue Pharma, the maker of OxyContin, opiate manufacturers gave almost $2 million to the Federation. Purdue alone contributed over $672,000. During the time this money was pouring in, the Federation wrote new guidelines for opiate prescribing, in which it was explained that what looked like addiction really wasn't addiction. The guidelines included statements such as this, quote, physicians should recognize that tolerance and physical dependence are normal consequences of sustained use of opiate analgesics and are not synonymous with addiction. Are you kidding me? But that's what $2 million will buy. The Federation then pressured medical boards to adopt new guidelines and also to reassure doctors, now listen to this, that following the new guidelines would reduce the likelihood of disciplinary actions. In other words, if doctors refuse to prescribe opiates the way that Purdue was telling them to prescribe them, then they could be disciplined for that, just like they were disciplined for speaking out about vaccines or prescribing ivermectin or hydroxychloroquine, etc. That's not all, though. The Federation also promoted a book called Responsible Opioid Prescribing, which was authored by pharma-friendly doctors who advocated for broader availability of opiate drugs. The book was then marketed to state medical boards, health departments, physicians, clinics, and hospitals. It was financed by the drug companies, but the Federation earned another $270,000 in profits from selling the book. The Federation claimed in response to a Senate investigation that its intention was not to promote opioids, really, but rather to provide advice about how to do so responsibly. But the organization's guidelines could not have been more straightforward. Opiates were safe, and failure to prescribe them would indicate ignorance and potentially cause harm to patients, and also cause doctors to be disciplined. The guidelines included this statement, quote, millions of Americans suffer from debilitating pain, a condition that for some can be relieved through the use of opioids. Studies have concluded that both acute pain and chronic pain are often undertreated in the United States, creating serious repercussions that include loss of productivity and quality of life. So here's the bottom line. Nothing's changed. The Federation continues to claim undue and unconstitutional authority over state medical boards. They should be answering to their state legislatures, not to the Federation. Doctors continue to be at risk of discipline and licensure loss if they run afoul of ever-changing guidelines from the pharma-friendly FSMB. So why haven't we gone after them yet? I want to, I'd love to, but we need to, but we need more money to do it. In the meantime, we'll continue to defend doctors who get in trouble due to this very disturbing arrangement. And at some point in time, when the time is right, we'll go after the FSMB. There's so many members of this cabal, monstrosity, god-awful network of terribleness and just horrible people doing horrible things. And until we dismantle it, this can all happen again in a nanosecond. All right, so let's talk about something more positive. The CDC dropped its recommendation that healthy children and pregnant women get regular COVID-19 shots. Woohoo, right? In a video posted on social media, HHS Secretary RFK, NIH Director Jay Bhattacharya, and FDA Commissioner Marty Makary announced that the recommendations had changed. Kennedy said, I couldn't be more pleased to announce that as of today, the COVID vaccine for healthy children and healthy pregnant women has been removed from the CDC recommended immunization schedule. That ends, and then he said that there's no evidence to support repeat booster strategy in children. Bhattacharya said it all ends today. It's common sense and it's good science. And then Makary said there's no evidence healthy kids need it, and most countries have stopped recommending it for children. Well, the medical cabal is pretty upset about it. Catherine Edwards, a retired pediatrician and so-called vaccine expert, says it was really unusual for the HHS secretary to bypass typical agency processes like the ACIP committee. In other words, to bypass the cabal and just make the decision. Paul Offit, this highly conflicted pharma paid for swamp creature at Children's Hospital of Philadelphia, noted that pregnancy is on the CDC's list of medical conditions that put patients at increased risk of severe disease from COVID. And then swamp creature and Branch Covidian Michael Osterholm, who was in the Biden White House, says that there was no new information behind the decision and it's a dangerous precedent. Well, it's good news. It means that insurance companies don't have to pay for the vaccine if they don't want to. It'll help dry up what little demand remains. But before you start uncorking the champagne, remember that this policy change has no force of law. And really, what they're screaming about, the cabal is screaming about, is that they just made an arbitrary decision. They did, we like it, right? But this means that another administration, which appoints different people to these positions, can issue entirely different edicts from on high. For example, making a recommendation that all adults are now supposed to get the hepatitis B vaccine and the annual flu vaccine and the RSV vaccine and on and on and on. So we're one election away from a return to COVID land because all this infrastructure that I've been talking about in this video is still in place. So we can't mistake a reprieve we can't mistake that for a solution. A solution is when you do something that changes how things can be done in the future. Right now, we can breathe, we can have a discussion, we're not being censored. A lot of good things are going on, and I don't want to be, a Debbie Downer that's always talking to you about doom and gloom. I recognize that there are some good things going on, but we also don't want to breathe a sigh of relief, sit back and think our problems are solved because it's that level of complacency and not really seeing all the warning signs out there that led to the COVID debacle, and it can definitely happen again. So, couple things. If you're interested in starting a tribe, this is the time to do it. We're doing a lot of revamping at Make Americans Free Again. You look for our new website very soon. We can accept stock donations. I haven't talked about that for a while. That can offer some tax advantages for some of you. You can buy merchandise on our website, and we soon will have some additions to our store. And of course, you're always welcome to send money to Make Americans Free Again at the address on the website or to go to makeamericansfreeagain.com and donate online. We welcome those donations, and it's what allows us to stay in the game and continue this litigation that is so important to securing a future without medical tyranny in the United States. So anyway, that's it for today. As usual, pass this on to anybody who you think would enjoy watching it and learning from this. I hope you will become more involved in MAFA if you are not already. We have to build an enormous network of people out there that become an enormous block that literally can dictate the way things happen in this country. That's what I see for our future, and I'd love for you to be part of it. All right, that's it for today. Pass this on to anybody who you think would enjoy watching it, and I will be back to you next week with more news. Thanks for watching.